Good afternoon, honorable delegates. Welcome to this committee's meeting. Are there any matters to be discussed as of now? Delegate of the People's Republic of China.
Motion to open debate on the topic of climate change and its global impacts.
That motion is in order. All delegates in favor? All against?
Sorry.
Given that it's been adopted by consensus, we shall now open this debate. Are there any other matters to be taken care of before? Preferably one to initiate a roll call. Honorable Delegate of the People's Republic of China.
Motion to initiate roll call.
It is in order. We shall. Okay. Are there all delegates in favor of this motion? Given the consensus, we shall now initiate a roll call vote. We shall go alphabetically, and the options available to you are present and present voting. I hope this distinction is clear to all delegates present here. Alright. With that, we shall now commence roll call vote. Honorable Delegate of the People's Republic of China.
Present and voting.
The Honorable Representative of the People's Republic of China is present and voting. Honorable Representative of Denmark.
Present.
Present. Honorable Delegate of the Republic of India.
Present and voting.
Present and voting. The Delegate of the United States of America.
Present and voting.
Present and voting. With 4 delegates present in this committee, the quorum has been set at 1 delegate. For any procedural motion, or for that matter, when a substantive vote would pass, we require 3 delegates. With that being said, are there any other matters that need to be taken care of before we begin debate? Preferably, the adoption of the agenda would be something we are looking for at this point of time. Delegate of the United States of America.
Motion to adopt the agenda and begin session.
That motion is in order. All delegates in favor of adopting the agenda, climate change. Given the unanimous support for this motion, the agenda is hereby been adopted. Thank you, honorable delegates. Any other matters to be taken care of, honorable delegates, preferably to open the general speakers list? Delegate of India.
Motion to open the general speakers list.
The all delegates in favor? Given the unanimity of this decision, the general speakers list is now open. We shall now take in speakers for this general speakers list. Delegates wishing to speak on the general speakers list. We should start with the Delegate of India, followed by the Delegate of USA, followed by the Delegate of Denmark. Honorable Representative of India is invited to make the statement.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of India believes that with this committee there should be prime focus on common but differentiated responsibilities. Same rules imposed on United States of America or any developed nation cannot be imposed on developing nations. As you can see, 43% of carbon dioxide emissions were only solely by United States of America. Seeing that, India contributed to only 4% of the total greenhouse gas emissions. The Delegate of India believes that we should. The Delegate of India believes that developing nations should probably make better efforts in order to curb down the greenhouse gas emissions.
Thank the Delegate of India for the statement. We recognize Denmark as the next speaker.
Point of order.
Yes, ma'am. What is the point of order?
The chairperson earlier said that the order would be Delegate of India followed by the Delegate of the United States, then by the Delegate of Denmark.
That seems to be the case, and the chairperson profusely apologizes for that error. The Delegate of the United States of America is now ready.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, Honorable Chairperson, Madam Secretary, all conference officials, fellow delegates. The Delegate of the United States believes that all countries bear responsibility to finish and to extinguish this global problem of climate change. Climate change affects not only developed countries but developing countries as well. This problem has taken such a huge problem today that it affects the basic way of life in the world today. For example, for the Delegate of India, what is the situation in Delhi today is not something that we are finding in developing countries. In fact, The Delegate of the United States believes that growth of the developing countries is still unsustainable and is wanted. This leads to their carbon emissions being undependable and would request strict regulatory measures for developing countries to control their carbon emissions. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Representative of the United States of America. Before we move on to the next speaker, which is the Delegate of Denmark, are there any speakers wishing to add the names of general speakers list? Delegate of China, followed by the Delegate of the United States of America. We should take speakers after that as well. Delegate of Denmark is now recognized.
Thank you, Chairperson, Madam Secretary, and honorable delegates present in this committee. The Delegate of Denmark firmly believes that the issue of climate change is not of a domestic but of an international nature, which is affecting every member state and every country that is present in this world. The Delegate of Denmark strongly supports the motion put forward by the Delegate of United States of America and firmly reiterates the need to curb the carbon emissions emitted by the developing nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Representative of Denmark. Next, we call upon the Delegate of the People's Republic of China to make the statement.
Good morning, honorable delegates and all the conference officials present here. The Delegate of China would like to state the facts of the matter here. That Delegate of the People's Republic of China has always maintained a proactive stance when it comes to climate change and bettering our future in this world. So China is a party of the Kyoto Protocol, and it has actively worked in curbing carbon emissions and greenhouse gas emissions in the industrial belts across the country. Building on what the Delegate of China, building on what the Delegate of India said, that there is an urgent need for differentiated responsibilities between the developing and the developed nations, simply because the developed nations, quite simply put, are ahead of the curve. While the Delegate of the United States mentioned that the developing nations' growth is unsustainable, we as the developing nations, China on behalf of all the developing nations would simply like to state that the Western countries or the developed nations are simply ahead of the curve. They have come to where they are on the basis of the same unsustainable growth, and therefore they bear equal responsibility for the same. So with this, the Delegate of China would like to urge this committee to share equal, if not to share differentiated responsibilities based on their economic standpoints and based on their historic standpoints when it comes to contribution to climate change. Thank you.
We would like to thank the Honorable Representative of the Republic of China for the statement. Just to clarify to this committee, we would really prefer if you stick to your time limits, which in this case is 2 minutes. Kindly adhere to this time limits as much as possible. We are open to taking new speakers on the general speakers list. Delegates to add their names. We have the Delegate of Denmark, followed by the Delegate of India. Thank you, Honorable Delegates. We shall now call upon the Delegate of the United States of America to begin.
Thank you, Chairperson. The Delegate of the United States would like to thank the Delegate of Denmark for their support. This delegate recognizes that there are differences in the carbon emissions and there are historical factors to this. As the Delegate of China rightly stated, that developed nations have crossed the curve. But this does not excuse the developing nations. The world cannot afford to have any more problems with climate change. This is a serious issue, and the Delegate of the United States feels that this is of utmost importance. More than any other development, climate change needs to be focused on most at this point in time.
Thank you, Honorable Representative of the United States of America. Next, we call upon the Delegate of Denmark to make a statement.
The Delegate of Denmark apologizes to the committee for taking its time. The Delegate of Denmark would like to firmly again express support to the Honorable Delegate of USA, and building on what the Honorable Delegate of USA said, the issue of climate change is of grave importance, which is affecting everything that goes on in this world. And given the present scenario, regardless of the historical significance of or the historical percentage of carbon emissions made by every country. Walking on or considering the present scenario, it is imperative that the developing nations firmly put limits on the amount of carbon emitted by them. This is in the best interest of the international community at large. Thank you very much.
Given that the last word for you,
the Delegate of the United States would like to raise a motion for a formal and informal of 10 minutes.
That is under consideration. Honorable Representatives, the Delegate of the USA has called for a motion for a formal and informal for the next 10 minutes. All delegates in favor? All against? Given that this has failed to meet the majority threshold, we should now revert back to the general speakers list. The next speaker is the Delegate of India. However, since the Delegate of India is the last speaker, we would like to add more speakers to the general speakers list. Delegates wishing to add their names to the general speakers list. Delegate of the People's Republic of China. Any other delegates? Thank you, Honorable Delegates. Delegate of India.
Thank you, sir. The delegate of USA spoke about the seriousness of the situation and how climate change affects each and every country in this committee present today. Let us face some facts here. The USA is responsible for 507 million metric tons of carbon dioxide in 2005, and India's per capita greenhouse gas emissions will at no point exceed that of developed countries at all in the coming years. According to the National Action Plan on Climate Change, India has pledged to increase forest cover from 23% to 33%. Seeing this, the Delegate of India wants to know how serious exactly is the Delegate of USA when it blames developing nations about their efforts not being satisfactory enough.
Honorable Representatives, given that the next speaker is the People's Republic of China and the list will exhaust, we require speakers on the general speakers list. Delegates wishing to add their name to the general speakers list. Delegate of the USA. Any other delegates wishing to add their name to the general speakers list? Delegate of India. Thank you. Next, we call upon the Delegate of the People's Republic of China to make a statement.
Continuing on what the Delegate of India had to say about the matter, again, we'd like to face some facts here. As Delegate of India pointed out earlier, that USA contributes to about 43% of the total greenhouse gas emissions in the world, right? Also, USA is not a party to Kyoto Protocol, which is the basic greenhouse gas emission controlling a document which the UN has passed and currently has 192 member nations as its parties. So all the talk that comes from the United States delegation about climate change and owning responsibility does not seem to be translating into any kind of action. I would like to question the Delegate of the United States on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your statement, Honorable Delegate of the People's Republic of China. Kindly refrain from making references to the first person. Refer to yourself in the third person by saying the name of the country or the use of the word we. With that in mind, Honorable Representative of China has a motion.
Motion to move into a formal informal session for a period of 10 minutes.
The Delegate of the PRC has initiated a motion for a formal informal for the next 10 minutes. Delegates in favor of this motion. This motion is has been unanimously passed. We are now in a formal informal for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, so see, the thing is, I wanted to raise a point about the technology transfer, right? Because at the end of it, so the developed nations have already had the existing technology, they've already done the R&D, yeah, but they're not doing anything about it. So instead, what we do is we simply take the technology, import it in, probably tweak it a little to fit the local norms and local standards. So,
do you have any
that would involve like
accusations put to your country by the
no,
delegates
it's
of
not
China
submitting per se, because see, it's a matter of differentiated responsibilities again, right? So they've done their part, like they've done their part in growing to that state, and therefore they can afford to simply now care about the climate. It's that simple. They can afford to care about the climate.
So
We
I
simply
think
cannot.
next general speaker
Right.
Yeah,
Our
Mr.
populations
Operations
and our economic status does not allow us to care about care about environment as much as we'd like to.
Okay, so I think I just
So instead
talk
of what we
about
do
this
is we
in the
take their
context of
system,
China
we
and
take their green technologies, we take their right. So we have this thing like there was this point I wanted to raise about technology transfer. Right. So you as developed nations have gotten to the economic state where you can afford to spend money on green technologies because and think about climate change. Whereas we, because given our population, given our economic status, we simply cannot afford to. We cannot afford to invest that much R&D, right? So what we do is instead we design policy frameworks which facilitate technology transfer from developed nations to developing nations when it comes to green technologies, when it comes to sustainable development, and so on and so forth. So
Honorable representatives, it is our hope that you are working on a draft,
we're
a
discussing.
document, an outcome document with which we can debate
so-
and therefore put to official.
Yeah. So we those already exist. The thing is, those already exist in the United Nations framework for climate change.
So you are proposing to create multilateral trade agreements between all the developed and developing countries.
Essentially, but not strictly speaking restricted to trade. This is more of a how do you
Trade
put
of
it?
technology.
Yeah, it's more of a intellectual property. Yeah, it's more of a
Climate
patent laws.
oriented.
It's more of policy regarding patent laws, intellectual property rights. So that there's more there's facilitation of technology transfer when it comes to green technology. So when it comes to domestic policy level, it could translate into say easy patent laws, easy patenting when it comes to say. So I think a similar model exists with the pharmaceutical industry, wherein you have the generics industry. A lot of the developing nations contribute significantly to the pharmaceutical industry in US and Canada because the production costs are definitely lower and therefore the medicine cost goes lower. So the healthcare industry definitely benefits. So a similar model can be applied to say green technologies when it comes to solar power research, when it comes to wind power research, when it comes to green housing, and so on. Right, when it comes to sustainable methods of agriculture.
Okay, but let's say we agree to the entire technology transfer, our emissions cut down. What's happening there?
So for them, because currently USA has the biggest issue with wastage and when it comes to. So again, this comes down to a bit of technology transfer because if I'm not wrong, Sweden currently operates on incinerator-based power plants. So they basically process garbage, incinerate it, and generate power from that. The model has been deployed in India, in Punjab. There are 3 megawatt power plants about that. So again, that's USA has been it's been known that USA has a significant amount of garbage being generated, and given that, I feel like USA should own up responsibility for it, and definitely should take steps when it comes to say the reducing overall environmental degradation, because at the end of the day USA will not be significantly affected, right?
Because the first effect will be on us.
Yeah, the first effect will always be on the developing nations. Denmark will definitely be affected because it's right there. It's near the North Pole. It's near the Arctic Circle. Yeah, by simple geography, it will be affected. China, it has islands in the South China Sea. Even currently, we are feeling because there is climatic disturbances, which is actually leading to the whole smog situation in Beijing. It's because in the north the Taklamakan Desert and the South China Sea, between them there is a climatic disturbance which basically creates a low pressure area near Beijing. So which is why all the smog gets accumulated there. Right.
So there is a similar situation
In Delhi,
in India.
precisely. So given the kind of climate change effects that we are facing at present, whereas for the United States the worst that has happened is the heat wave in California, right? That's the absolute worst it has gotten to. So I feel like United States, with a significant contribution to the overall degradation historically speaking, and the effects it faced, they're very there's a clear disparity in them.
So then if USA has to do any of this, it first needs to ratify the Kyoto Protocol.
It does.
Which is not happening.
Yeah, it does need to ratify the Kyoto
Because
Protocol.
USA still believes that it's only the developing nation who need to own up to this
Yeah,
responsibility.
that is something the USA needs to
That
understand.
is our main block.
What I believe is that owning up is a different part. What we now need to focus on is creating framework for multilateral
But you can only
exchange of
create
technology.
Yeah, but
agreement, right?
once there's agreement, only then can you see. Again, it's multilateral by the very definition, multilateral.
I mean, okay, even if
And-
an agreement comes about, China and India will somehow be like, okay.
Like China, India, Denmark come, but like when your major stakeholder, the USA, is not. We need USA's this thing. So USA needs to like
So we can,
buckle down, take a stand.
Financial contributions from USA should increase. Like, that's
It's
probably starting.
not financial contribution obviously in a sense does play a role,
You can
but
start there.
yeah, you can start there.
Followed by the technological help.
Yeah. Followed by technological help, or actually technological help will include both financial as well as the research and know-how. Also, like again, as I mentioned, the disparity in the cause and
Honorable
effect.
representatives, I hope a draft is coming. There's a draft that we're working on. The policy decisions and things
So,
will be
yeah.
Technological transfer.
No, so the first we'll have to work on the preambulatories, right? So taking into account the United Nations framework for climate change, climate change convention, right? Chairperson.
What is the question, sir?
UNFCCC expansion is
Framework for the conventional climate.
framework for the convention on climate change. Fine. Taking into account the framework for convention,
The member states.
recognizing the urgency for reforms,
Of the need to curb
For
climate
reforms.
change.
for
For the
reforms,
urgency for the need of reforms. To curb
Climate change.
yeah, to curb environmental
environmental
degradation.
degradation.
And carbon emissions, that is.
No, that's environmental degradation.
Environmental
Okay.
degradation.
Alright,
As
we'll
a-
move on to operatives.
Yes.
The member states. Urges
Cooperation.
urges
International cooperation.
Member states are.
next. Urges international cooperation. Yeah, urges international cooperation with regards to green technology.
Promotion of green technology.
With regards to green technology, basically. With regards to green technology.
This is very vague.
Yeah,
It's a
but
working memory.
yeah, it's a draft, and like the fine tuning will have to be done on a local level, right? You cannot like simply copy paste your technology from here to there. It has to be tweaked to green technology. Also, we're not sure on how this will be affected. When like one way of it will be obvious relaxation of the IPR, intellectual property rights, but there may be other ways. A little more research needs to be done on this. Emphasizes the need for ratification of the Kyoto Protocol.
Honorable representatives, I hope I have a draft on this. Then your formal comes to a close in the next 2 or 3 minutes.
Fine.
Yes, sir.
Kyoto Protocol and
Anything about countries most affected by the sea level rises?
we could include that, but how would you frame it?
Assistance to The economic assistance would be a part of it.
It's not just about economic
No,
assistance.
I agree. But then climate change is something that has been happening over a long period of time. This is the effect of something which has been going on for a long period of time.
Rehabilitation of countries are most effective.
But the
True.
point I'm trying to make here is
But will it
change will
really
not
be feasible
occur
for countries
very
like
fast,
us?
right?
Yes.
Change is not instantaneous.
It will take time to
Change
come into
in
fruition.
itself to revert back will take time.
Future.
See, when we say assistance, rehabilitation and assistance, it's possible for countries like them. They have low population. They have, like, when it comes to even like
So what about island nations? Would be like
yeah, they have.
desert.
Yeah, it's a very immediate response. So, say for instance, Marshall Islands, say for instance, Kiribati, Vanuatu, they're all immediately affected. There is like visible effects of sea level rise, right?
So for that,
And for like in such a short span of time,
climate change will still not help them.
yeah,
They would be
these are all long-term measures that we're taking to basically undo the damage we've done.
But the
in-
damage would already have been done in those countries.
Yes, precisely. And for us to provide, so when we are sponsors to this, when we are parties to this resolution, we will have a sort of moral obligation to adhere to it, which we simply cannot have, right? Given our population densities, given our simple sheer size of populations, we cannot simply take in more people in, right? Climate-induced refugees is a, like, to house them is a very first world issue, which the third world nations simply cannot afford.
That is why we would suggest at first a little bit of economic assistance.
So that has to start with economical and technological.
Fine, all right, we can go from there.
That can be a starting stone.
Yeah, we can go from there maybe.
Economic and technological assistance.
Or we could just make it assistance. Suggest assistance to be provided to island nations most affected by climate
The
change.
sea level.
Not necessarily sea level rise, climate change.
Yeah, focusing only on islands.
That's what.
Primarily
Islands, because mainland obviously you can move in. Jagah bana.
We provide island nations.
No, so assistance be provided to
the
nations most
affected by climate change and global
most
warming.
affected by climate change.
Do you have a draft?
Yes, Chairperson.
I think our time for
I think that's-
formal is over.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we will lapse our time. So we'll discuss this once we'll put everything on the record once. We'll have a discussion.
Honorable representatives, before your resolution will be discussed, it is subject to a ratification by the Bureau.
Alright.
So kindly submit your draft so that we can make our comments and we can make the last minute changes. So of course the substantive content is not something the chairperson will touch.
Right.
However, what we are looking for is the format in which it's done and whether or not these violate any mandate. So, okay, in this resolution, I see 2 preamble clauses followed by 3 operative. Am I right? And the sponsors of the resolution are
China, Denmark, India, and the United States of America.
so all delegates are
All
sponsors.
delegates are sponsors.
Okay. It is my obligation to inform you that as sponsors, the scope for you to sort of disagree with the content of this resolution is severely limited. In such a scenario, who would still be the sponsors on this resolution? Would anybody like to abstain from being sponsors? Given that all of you are in agreement, I shall consider the same. All right. Honorable Representative, this as such is not a Security Council. Therefore, the word urges is to be replaced with something of a more recommendatory nature. Maybe use the word recommendatory.
Recommends.
this resolution with the changes I have just suggested has been ratified. Is this a draft you have? This is the final draft you're submitting to the chairperson?
Yes.
Fair enough. We shall now resume session, after which we shall extend the general speakers list to discuss on the resolution. With that informal coming to an end and a resolution introduced to the Bureau, we shall resume the general speakers list, and the chairperson hopes that there would be some discussion on the draft that is in front of, that will be submitted to the Bureau. Now, for the benefit of the committee, I will be reading out the resolution once. So the sponsors of the resolution are all the delegates in this committee, namely the People's Republic of China, United States of America, Denmark, and India. So it starts, the preamble clauses as such says, taking into account the framework for the UNFCCC, which is the United Nations Framework on the Convention on Climate Change, recognizing the urgency for the need of reforms to curb environmental degradation. It recommends, now we are at the operators, policy suggestions, recommends the member states to increase international cooperation with regards to green technology. 2. Emphasizes the need for the ratification of the Kyoto Protocol. And 3. Suggests assistance to be provided to nations most affected by climate change. Alright. Does any delegate require me to repeat any clause? Yes, ma'am. The third clause says, suggests assistance to be provided to nations most affected by climate change. Alright. Any other clarifications? Alright. With that, we shall now resume the general speakers list. The next speaker we have is the Delegate of the United States of America. Fair enough. The Delegate of the United States of America has chosen not to speak, and his name is Papa Pepper. Are there any other speakers wishing to add their names? The next speaker is the Delegate of India, followed by the Delegate of China, and then Denmark. Delegate of India, you are invited.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of India understands the ratification of Kyoto Protocol has not been done by the Delegate of USA. How does the Delegate of USA believe that this would be accomplished through this resolution?
Next, we have the Delegate of the People's Republic of China.
Thank you, Chairperson, for recognizing me. The delegate of China would like to give a few clarifications on clause number 1. What we as the committee felt with regards to clause number 1 about promoting a free exchange of green technologies between developed and developing nations was that developed nations have gotten to a point in their economy and have gotten to a point in their society as a whole where they can afford to invest in research and development, where they can afford to invest in science and technology pertaining to green technologies, pertaining to sustainable development, sustainable growth and sustainable technologies in general, which is something the developing nations, given their population, given their economies, simply cannot do. So this point, what it emphasizes is that there has to be a free exchange, if not free, a more easy exchange of technologies from the developed nations, albeit with some tweaking to fit according to be a good fit in local to be a good fit in the local sense of the countries which are being affected, and thereby we can move to a better world because we get a true sense and international cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Representative of the People's Republic of China. Are there any speakers wishing to add the name to the speakers list after Denmark? Delegate of India. Delegate of Denmark.
Thank you, Chair. The Delegate of Denmark supports green technology and it firmly acknowledges the concerns put forward by the Delegate of People's Republic of China Building on that, Denmark would like to pledge technological and economic assistance to deal with the matter of climate change to the international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Representative. So what point you raise?
The delegate of China would like to move into voting over on the resolution.
Okay, so the delegate of the People's Republic of China has initiated a motion to move into voting for this resolution. All delegates in favor to move into voting? The unanimity of this motion has been recognized, and now we will move into voting. Honorable delegates, do we have consensus on this resolution? If you have an objection to that, please let the chairperson know if you are not in agreement with the resolution, because it determines consensus. Given that the delegate of the United States of America has expressed the lack of consensus, we shall move into roll call vote for this resolution. Alright. Alright, so on this resolution, so the resolution has been read out and we shall now conduct a vote. Delegate of the People's Republic of China.
Yes.
Delegate of the People's Republic of China votes yes. Delegate of Denmark.
Yes.
Delegate of Denmark votes yes. Delegate of the Republic of India.
Yes.
Delegate of the Republic of India votes yes. Delegate of the United States of America. The delegate of the United States of America votes no. With 3 affirmative votes, 1 negative and no abstentions, this resolution has been adopted by the United States.